again tonight for another week of Sippy Cup Sundays, man. It is going down. I definitely want to bring y'all back with your boy to the forefront of Sippy Cup Sundays and what we've been doing. So, as some of y'all know, we've had some losses in the family, and I just wanted to reconnect with you guys. So, a couple of things that we've been talking about lately is we've been talking about grief and how that looks, right? And so, I sent out a message earlier this week, um, and we were talking about. But before we get started, man, I just want to tell all the people who have been following me, who have been connecting with me every week, for all of the guests who have previously been on the show. Thank you so much for holding it down, man. It's been a blessing to really have everybody here. So I really appreciate all of you coming in, connecting, and all of that, man. It's been so dope. So to all of you in the chat, I just want to say hey, and what's going down. What's up, y'all? So let me go ahead and hit it in, man. I'm doing it all about to the neck, so y'all know what's up. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here, man, for Sippy Cup Sundays. Because at the end of the day, it's just been truly a blessing, man. It's been truly a blessing, and so again, thank you for rocking this out with me. But tonight, man, we had an opportunity to get some feelers out there this week and you know, um, talk to them about grief, and what that looked like, especially like, some people close to my family has passed away too this week, and so I wanted to ask people about it. Like, how do you grieve? Like, what you're going through, when you're connecting with somebody, you know, um, in life or a friend, and you're helping them get through what they're going through. So some people have some questions, and one of the questions is, how do you get through sudden waves of grief, and especially on the days when it feels unbearable? And one of my um, I think that one of my ways of getting through grief in that particular wave, I tell people all the time, one of the greatest losses I've ever taken in my life was losing my uncle, who was like a father to me, to suicide. You know, and after going through that, I think that was one of the greatest, like, hurts that I think I've ever experienced in my entire life, and it was hard, man. And initially, you go through that initial grief, and he was my best friend. Let me tell you, man, he was my best friend. Author Marcus Thomas, Duran Thomas. He was my best friend, and losing him to that was one of, like, it was just like a wave of frustration, a wave of anger. I mean, I went through all the feelings. I was blaming, I was angry, I was hurt, and then I was starting to get over it, and then I felt like I was accepting it, right? And after that acceptance, I would notice that a song would play, and that wave of grief would hit me, and I'm like, boom, I'm like, bruh, I cannot do it at all whatsoever. I can't do life without you. It's how I felt, and I just remember allowing myself on days like that to, I didn't necessarily cry around other people, but I gave myself space to cry. I gave myself space to let the tears fall as I'm driving down the highway and listening to a song that we used to listen to, or I would allow myself to, go in the shower when my son was around, and I wouldn't let him see that, because I didn't want him to think that it was him that was causing the tears, but it was me accepting the fact that, it seemed unbearable, and I promised myself that once I allowed myself to give time to grieving at that particular moment, once I was done grieving, I would give myself hours throughout the day to grieve, and I'd be like, "Okay, bro, today's a rough day." I would allow myself to recognize the feelings that I was having, right, when it came to grief, um, and not just suppress them. Like, I think that one of the worst things that I've ever done was suppress my emotions, and I learned that at a very young age due to the trauma that I had growing up. But once I got over that particular portion of my life where I was suppressing, it gave me a lot more strength than I thought I ever had. Right? It allowed me to feel like I was next level. I'm not even gonna lie, right? It felt like that. And so um that's kind of one of the ways when I'm going through those days that feel unbearable, I just allow myself to sit with it. I think that like I said, one of the greatest things I taught myself was in order to heal, you have to feel. And grief is like a broken bone, right? Um, you never know you're going to heal until you actually take a step forward, right? And I think that a lot of times we forget to step to test the waters to see if we have the strength to walk. And just like a broken bone, like when you take that first step, like it's going to hurt, right? It is going to break your heart. You're gonna be like, oh my God, like somebody come help me, right? But after you continue to go to therapy, right? And you start working a little bit more and rebuilding that strength. And I think that you start to build that emotional fortitude. That's where the grief starts to, you know, not necessarily subside, but it starts to begin to not be as heavy as it was because you've allowed yourself to build that emotional fortitude, if that makes sense. Um, the next question that somebody asked me this week is, let's see here, where we going? And that came from, let me just, Myra. That came from Myra. So Myra, thank you for answering that question, asking that question. We really appreciate that. The next one question, I believe, came from Shyla, and she asked, let's see here. Let's see, where'd it go? Oh, that was on the was that on the Instagram? That was on the IG. Hold on, because it went to IG. So let me see here. Let me get over here. We're gonna get to it, man. We don't wanna I told you I do this in real time. I don't really script it out like that. I want to make sure that we can ask, real authentic questions. I can't really see it. I don't know where it went. Oh, okay, where it went, but it had to do something is does it ever really go away? Right? And I don't necessarily think it does. I don't think that, people be like, "Oh man, I'm healed, it's over, it's done." Like just like scar tissue when it comes to grief, like grief still lingers, you know what I'm saying? It still is there, it's still around, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not going to, you know what I mean? But you have the strength to keep going. I think that even some days now, when I listen to something or I hear about the pain of someone else going through it, that secondary, emotion, or somebody went through something similar, like it still brings up those emotions, all those questions like of why or why aren't you not here, but the thing about it is, again, you still, as you allow yourself to continue to grieve through the process, you start to build that emotional fortitude. So healing, and I tell people this all the time, and people like, "Oh, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm changed, my life changed," and I say, "Okay, well, that's great." But for me, healing is a journey that we continually take on on a daily basis, right? Every day we have to choose to be in a healing space for ourselves. So it's not just something that we just do on a whim. It's like no, we're really have to put the work in to make it happen. And so I want to encourage too all of you, man, who have to, when you're going through that or you're going through something, give yourself the space to really work through whatever it is that you're, hiding, that you're not willing to face, right? Because at the end of the day, like it's you versus you. You know what I'm saying? Um, somebody also asked, I have some questions here. Um, did grief make you isolate yourself or push people away? Yes. Um, so I never really learned how to grieve with people, um, because I've always been the person that people came to for issues or problems or things like that. So sometimes I just have to be in a space where I just give me a minute, let me get my minute in, and but I'm learning now, right? I'm learning how to allow people to see me to cry because before I growing up, it was like crying was a weakness. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the hood, like it get real thicky over here. You know what I'm saying? So that crying is like you know it wasn't something I could have just done and being cool with. But as I've gotten older, I realize and have learned how to show my emotions versus suppress them, and then it turned out to anger or it turned to violence, and and then it get to a spot where we real activated, right? So before I was like that, I would turn up, I would go out and I wanted the world to feel my pain, but and so now when it came to, people trying to hold me, or console me in in uh in my grief, uh I isolated. I was like, bro, I don't want to be around nobody. Like, let me just do my thing, but slowly but surely it takes the right person to grieve around, right? You can't just grieve around everybody, because some people are very judgmental in your grief, right? Some people are very like, oh well, it's taking too long. They was gone 6 or 7 years ago. I don't give a damn how long they've been gone. You know what I'm saying? Grief is grief, and the grieving process, is very different, which for everybody. So it's not one particular way to grieve. So for those of you who are, let's say, how can I say, the grief police, then definitely, man, don't bring your ass around me. Like seriously, don't. Okay, because I will definitely check what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? Like we not doing that over here. Like it's not, it's not something that you get the opportunity to police for somebody else. You don't know the relationship that they had. You don't know the depths of love or care that they had. You don't know anything about that process except what they've either told you or shown you, right? And there may be some things that have been so deep that they've held on, or that person did for them that just never been spoken. So again, everybody, you can't police somebody's grief. Allow them to go through their process. Um, another person asked me, what was the hardest day during your grieving process? Um, man, these some of y'all be hitting me with these questions, man. Today, okay, but that's okay because I'll be asking them too. Um, I think that the hardest day during my grieving process, I remember, is accepting the fact that like my dad wasn't coming back. You know, like I think that was the hardest part of the entire process. That day of acceptance, I remember it like it was yesterday. Like I literally put my face in my pillow and I screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed in every kind of emotion, the hurt, the anger, the happiness from the times that we spent together. Like all of those feelings and emotions literally came up at that one moment. And so, for me, I have to say that that day was the hardest day, you know, um, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I remember. I know y'all probably see me looking off the screen, but I'm picturing that day because I literally cried for an entire day, like when no one was around, like nobody. I just accepted the fact that he was gone, um, physically gone. Spiritually, I believe he's here with me, and that's just my own faith and my own belief. But um, but for the most part, yes, I believe he's with me always. Somebody else asked me, um, have you ever smiled in public while secretly falling apart? Yes. Yes, I have. I have. I have fallen apart so many times in public. The way I grew up, I was secretly fell apart in public a lot. Not just grieving about a loss of a family member, but a loss of a career. I've grieved about a loss of a relationship. I've grieved about at times I've grieved about not spending time with my son. You know, I grieved about a lot, losing in court, like all of this stuff, like how hard I've grieved about how hard the system. And I think that when people talk about grief, any particular loss in life uh constitutes you having a moment of or going through a grieving process, right? And I think that um some people take it more serious when they have a loss of life versus a loss of career. But when a piece of you dies, right, whether it be for a great purpose or a purpose that for someone else that wasn't necessarily conducive to the life that you wanted, um it still hurts, and that grieving process must take place, right? And it's crazy because it's like our society is not at a space or a place where it wants to give you that opportunity to grieve properly, right? It's more so, hey, you got 3 days to get over whatever grief process you got going on, and then it's back to work, right? So we don't have a society that allows us to actually express our humanity in a way that's conducive to long-term mental health, or long-term healing. It's more so just, hey, you just got to do what I tell you to do, and you getting right back to it, right? So that is another, you know, uh, failure, I think, in our society as a whole. Um, it says, did grief change your personality or the way you see life? Um, Ooh, yeah, actually, it did. So what's a trip is that everything that I'm doing now in my life, um, I remember a conversation, and I was driving in Washington up Highway 14, coming back home from work, and I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, "Man," or my uncle Pops. I call him my dad, but he's my uncle, but he's Uncle Pops, right? But I remember I was having a conversation with him, and he was like, "Man, I'm passing you the torch," you know, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Man, everything that I've taught you, everything that, you learn, I see how you are with your nephews and nieces." He said, "I've done the same thing for you that you now are going to do for them." Right? And I was like, "Oh, well, good looking out. You know what I'm saying? I got the torch, man. I'm him." I was thinking it was something cool, you know, but when he was gone, it was like after the acceptance, there was like a download of responsibility, right? That I have to be the light for, the youth in my family, the younger generation, like he was for me. Like make sure that I'm successful in a way that they can see that they don't have to live the necessarily life that I live, or the life that, being in the streets, being in the hood, being in a gang, go in and out of jail, going to all of those things, man, that are not conducive to really living, man. They at least let them see that there can be a different way, right? And so, um, I started, becoming a peer counselor, learning about that, became the top peer in Washington State, doing my thing, I became a mentor, started, public speaking, like things I never did in my life at all whatsoever. Okay. Really understood mental health, really started to dive into the understanding mental health and substance use disorder. Um, and I just wanted to be that person that everybody could go to. I was just getting, I want information. Just feed me information, right? Because I don't ever want someone to feel as if they don't have someone to talk to, or they don't have someone to rely on, right? And so I wanted to take the responsibility in my family of reliability, that yes, I may not participate in the lifestyle that you have, but I also want you to know that you do have a choice. Why? Because I made a different choice. And so yeah, it changed my life, the way that I see it, um, the way that I live it, the friendships that I have, it changed the way that I date. It changed everything. So yeah, so absolutely, grief changed my life in a way that it was so great. I say that, if I did not have that level of grief in my life, I don't know if I would have this level of success. So yeah, uh, yeah. So all right. It says, did grief ever make you angry at people, God, or yourself? Woo! Dang, y'all, yeah. Y'all hitting me today, man. Uh, man. Did grief ever make you angry at people, God, or yourself? Hmm. Yes. 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 Mousy, you're absolutely right. You are never the same after a great loss. That is very true. Very true. For me, at least. Um, did grief ever make you angry at people, God, or yourself? I say I was angry um, at my uncle Pops. I was very angry at him, um, and I had many conversations that probably could have sent me to a hospital with him after he was gone. But one of the questions that I had was why? Why? The situation surrounding everything, and why didn't you just talk to me? I think that's one of the greatest or the hardest, I think, questions that a person could ever have in the particular in the situation that I was in, is why, and never ever accepting the fact that you're never going to get the answer, right? So when I didn't get the answer, it made me even more angry, and I questioned God as to, like, God, why did you even allow this to happen? Like, what? Like, this don't even make sense. Like, you just gonna let this happen like that? Like, what? Like, really, this is what we doing right now? Like, how? Like, why would you take the one person, like, that I looked up to in this entire world, that the only person I looked up to in this entire world at that particular time in my life, that person is gone. Why would you do that to me? So yes, I did, very much so. It says, what unhealthy habits can grief create if it goes unaddressed? Well, there's so many, there's violence, people can suppress it so much where, as to where violence could become a thing, or isolation, or, depression, or alcoholism, or, narcotics abuse. I mean, there's so many different things that, if they go unaddressed, um, even people when they take medicine, right? They're like, "Oh, I just need to take these pills so I can sleep," right? Like, yeah, granted, take some pills to sleep, but when you start using them over and over and over and over and over, right? Even after that particular process, just because you don't want to feel it, then that's when it becomes a problem, right? So I agree that we all need, well, not all of us, but some of us do need, assistance, right? But once that assistance become, you know the actual lifestyle, once the assistance becomes a lifestyle, then it becomes a problem. Have I ever felt guilty or for laughing or being happy again? Me in particular, no. I didn't. I haven't felt that myself. But I can say that um, you know, every success that I've had, um, I've always attributed it to my uncle because of his loss. It propelled me into something, into being a person that I never knew was there. So it makes me sad sometimes when I do become successful, not because I feel guilty, but only just because I wish he was here to see what I became. So I don't feel guilty. I actually feel very proud of the man that I become. But I don't necessarily feel, guilty about it. Did people disappear from your life while you were grieving? Of course. Yes. Ab- Listen, let me tell you something. Um, People have their own worlds that they live in. And I heard this line from someone, and I don't remember where I heard it from, right? But I said, the line said, um, "Stop expecting you out of everyone else." And when I stop expecting me out of everyone else, I allowed people to be exactly who they are in my life, and it showed me who they were in my life. And if they weren't conducive to my life, I just happily let them go, if that makes sense. Some people come to, you know, show their face. You're right, right? Some people may be like, "Oh yeah, I was there for him when he was doing his thing, and and now he's down, but I showed up for you, and da 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 da," right? Um, Let me just say that they were full of shit. Uh, those types of people that come just to because you're successful, or because they see the success in you, or they see where you're going in life, and they just want to show up so that they could be a part of the success. Those are the people that you don't need around you. The family members, and I just keep it a buck, right? The family members that don't talk to you and ain't talked to you in years, and they want to come around and they want to say, "Oh well, I loved him." No you didn't. No you didn't. Right? So don't sit up here and try to you know um be the star to steal the show, or all of these different things, when you are literally just a succubus. You're an energy sucker. And I tell people this all the time. Stay away from people who suck your energy, right? Even in your grieving process, or people who try to make it all about them. This is not about it. Grieving is about the person's relationship with an individual person, not your relationship, or how more your relationship was. It's just about the individual relationship with one person or another. That's it. And if your relationship, that's your relationship. You can't comment on somebody else's relationship. I can't stand when people just go over and they be like, "Oh, I loved him, and we was here for 20 years and all of this other stuff." Like, okay, great. That's great. I'm glad. Let's just talk about the great things that he did in his life. Other than what you got going on, I don't know, because I don't even know you like that. And I don't want people who don't care for me, or care for my process, to be around me. It's not conducive to my life at all whatsoever. Right? And people like, man, when I say stuff like that, they be like, "Man, do you hang out with everybody? Like, you seem very lonely." No, I don't hang out with everybody. I only want to hang out with the people that want to hang out with me. That's it. I don't want to hang out with anybody else. And some people that want to hang out with me, I don't want to hang out with them. And I'm just being honest, right? Because everybody's not going where I'm going. And I don't want to bring everybody there. I don't. Because if you bring so many people with you, eventually it's going to weigh you down, because their problems become your problems. I want people around me, to be honest, during my grieving process, that are building still that have built through their grief, right? I want to be around people who says, "Man, I remember, coming up, like Les Brown. He lost his mother. I listened to him before, and it was wild because he was going through all this stuff. Was getting ready to lose the house and everything. Man, it was bad. But he still moved forward. I wanna be around people when I'm grieving who move forward through grief. I don't want people who just wallow or who stay. Now, granted, it's your prerogative to do that. I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do that. You have every right to choose whatever part of your life you want to choose to be a part of. Like I don't have no conditions on that. But the consequences behind staying on the carpet, and I tell people that's my thing. It's like, Thomas, you can go lay down on the floor for a long time, but you can't stay there. Like, you cannot stay on the floor because eventually it's going to be so hard for you to get up, right? So hard for you to get up that you're going to want to continue to lay there because it's easier. So before I do that, I want to get there to the point of uncomfortability and then stand up. I'm going to stand up in my uncomfortability because that is the only way I'm going to build that emotional fortitude. That's the only way I'm going to know that I myself is healing, and I'm not speaking for everyone else. So because again, my journey is my journey, your journey is your journey. And then, so another question somebody asked me is, what is more painful, losing someone suddenly or slowly? Um, to be honest, it all depends on the relationship that I've had. You know, um, I've lost people in my life, that have died from, that have passed away from various, sicknesses that took a while, in their life, and it hurt. It very much hurt. You know, um, but I think that the sudden loss, for me, was my personal most painful because it was the most unexpected. So I think that's what it was. It was just the most unexpected. So, um, I think that, uh, you know, that's one of the hardest things for me. It's like, man, like when you when you do that, when you get that sudden loss, it's a shock to your system. So for me, that was probably the most painful. Um, what's something you wish someone said to you while you were grieving? Oh man, I don't know. To be honest, I think that I think that probably when I'm grieving, um, I wish someone would just be like, "I'm here when you're ready," and I think I actually got that recently. Um, they just said, "I'm here if you need me," and they let me be, right? Because I didn't have to heal on their time, or I didn't have to heal how they wanted me to heal. They're just like, "Hey, here, I'm here if you need me. I don't have to touch you. I don't have to give you a hug. I don't have to do anything. Just whatever you need, you just let me know, and then I'll do that." And so that for me was like, I think that was the best grieving space I ever had in my life, right? Because it allowed me to create the space that I needed and allow someone to walk into that space with me while I was grieving versus uh, be forced into their process of grieving, right? A lot of times people get forced into processes that aren't their own for grief because this is how we're supposed to do it. And I'm like, bro, listen, when it comes to opinions, I just got to tell y'all, man, there is no proper way to grieve. There is no specialized, I don't care how many scientists sat their asses in a room and decided that this is what grief looks like. and this is the way that it was supposed to be. It's not that. Every individual person has their own way of doing things. Now, some of the tools may be similar. We may utilize the same some of the same tools, right? But we don't have to use them at the particular times in our particular journey because everybody's journey is not the same. Everybody is not where everyone else is. If we were, we would be the same exact person. So I believe that the universe made us very differently for specific reasons in order to be the particular person that we are. And so allowing someone to create their own grieving space and allow you into that space, you should feel blessed to be there versus um feeling like you need to take control of the situation. You don't have to take control. When people cry, I don't even get them tissue. I don't because I don't want to take away your permission to cry. You could cry all night if you want to. I'm here, you know. You just call me when you need me, you know. And that's how I you know, allow that grieving process. But I think that people who try to take control over someone else's grief, to be honest, yeah, I don't want you around me. So that's just real, bro. That is the real that's just as real as it gets, man. And so I hope that you guys that are watching this, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about someone else? Have you ever been in a space where somebody tried to control your grief, right? They tried to tell you how to grieve, or and you were like, get out of my face, right? Have you guys ever been in that particular space? Put it in the chat if you have. Tell me about it. Let me know. Um, and it says, have you ever had to grieve someone who is still alive? Yes, yes, I have. I have. Um, to be honest, it is a very personal matter, but I've had to grieve um, my son, which was one of the hardest. Things I think I've ever had to do in my life, you know? Um, I my son was my first love. He was my, first person I ever like truly loved, man. I didn't even know what love was until he came to this earth, man. And it was like, you know, um, I think that the hurt from not being able to see my son on a daily basis, when you're a father and you get separated from your children by the courts, um, bro, it is the hardest thing to ever do. I'm not even gonna lie. Like it's like it play. I think it plays like the a mental game on every man who um Oh, I'm so sorry, about that, but you know, um, it played a mental game on me like no other. Like my heart was shattered. I mean, I had anxiety for a while, dealing with grieving the not being there every day. So yes, I've had to be in that particular space, and it's not a fun one because you want to be there. You want them to be there, but what I learned is that, once I allowed myself to be the priority of healing, and he was in that God was going, my thing was, God, please take care of my son with the days that I'm not there. I prayed and I cried and I prayed and I cried and prayed and cried some more and then got angry and then prayed and cried again. So I was going through it, bro. And so going through that process was just excruciating. But you know, um, as I was healing, I built so much strength. It made me such a great father. It made me such a great uh, man because the times that I get to spend with my son, um, all I do, I just get to love on him. And I have multiple children, so I don't want to, put that to the forefront. But when he comes, it's like another piece of me is full. And when he's gone, I just have to allow that piece to leave for a little bit, and I grieve when he's gone. I grieve every day that he's gone. But when he comes back, I look forward to that comeback. So, yes, I've had to grieve someone who is still alive. Um, how do men and women grieve differently, in my opinion? Um, To be honest, I don't have an opinion on that. I believe that individuals grieve very differently, whether you're a man or a woman. Uh, and so um, it's just your journey of grief. It's not my journey of grief. It's not my place to tell you how to grieve, right? Whether you're a man or a woman, we all cry. Some people, I've seen women, have their closet of grief and come back, sister soldier. I've seen men go in their closet of grief and come back sister soldier. I've seen women fall apart. I've seen men fall apart. So I don't think it's just either a woman or man thing. I think it's just a human thing that we do. And so when we talk about grief and we talk about sexuality and grief, I don't see that. I just see that people just grieve in different ways. And my job is not to necessarily uh tell them how to do it. It's to be there when they do it and typically help them come up with a plan for themselves that they create, right? And just ask questions about how they would like to do that. That's it. All right, let's see. Okay. Whew. What helped me finally start healing? Um, Acceptance. I was in my house by myself and I was living in Shelton, Washington. And I prayed for like 9 days. I got up in like early in the morning. I remember it was 9 days. I got up in the morning, I prayed, and I had so much pain that I would just give God like the first moment. And I was just like, I prayed for 5 days and I was like, God, I need you because I can't do this on my own. I literally had to surrender myself as a human being to the hurt. So I think that's what it was, to know and then to figure out how to process the hurt in a way that wasn't going to destroy me. Because honestly, even during that process, I was scared that the answer that my uncle had for himself, because it wasn't so close to me prior to, it wasn't an option, right? And I didn't even though I knew people did it, like I didn't really think it was an option, you know? Um, but in that deepest, darkest closet, in that pain of mine, it was a thought that was an option, and that scared me. I'm not gonna lie, it scared the living bejesus out of me because I'm like, I really could. So I think that the acceptance, the process of accepting the hurt and going through the hurt and really understanding the hurt and it helped me understand myself, a piece of myself that I never knew was there. So I think that's what helped me start healing. And I think, like I said, my motto now is to allow myself the time to grieve because most of us don't, right? We just suppress it and then we got to get back to work. We got our kids, we got our job, we got, bills, we got all this other stuff. But why don't you just have an hour? Oh, even if it's just an hour a week, right? 5, 10, 15 minutes. You know what? On my way home, I'm going to put on some music and I'm going to grieve. Have intentional grieving spaces for yourself. I do. I still do to this day. To this day, I have intentional grieving moments. And I may not have to cry to, you don't have to cry to grieve at all. But if you do, it's okay. So I think that's cool. It says, when did you realize you were slowly becoming yourself again? I don't think I was ever myself again. I think that it changed me into a completely different person. Grieving changed me into a completely different person. Allowing myself to go through that, uh, um, yeah, it just changed me. So I can't really say that I'm the same. I don't think I'm the same Thomas Jackson that people knew like years ago at all whatsoever. Do I have? Am I still a little hood? Is it still in me? Yes. But however, I have different tools now that I can utilize to combat that, the hoodness. you know, so yeah, no, but I think that I do have different tools, man, that I use now. In those, even though the same moments come up, my toolbox is a little heavy. I think that at that time when I was going through it, I didn't have the toolbox. I didn't do the research. I didn't do the hard work, right? So I didn't really have all the tools. So my actions were only what I've saw and was taught versus what I allowed myself to learn. So I just started to learn more tools to help strengthen my walk and help me make better decisions that were conducive to the life that I wanted to live versus so that's it. Um, it says, "How do you honor the people or things you lost while still moving forward?" Um, man, gosh, I think that everything that I do now, just love, man. I love people. That's one of the greatest things I think I've ever done is I learned how to love myself. um when you get the opportunity, and I say this is an opportunity because it truly is, man, and the blessing, it's a blessing to learn how to love who you are as a person. Like all of it though, right? Not just the good, not just the oh man, I look good, the makeup and all the other stuff. Great, that's great, right? Not the bags. Oh, that's cool. But when you love you, right? Understand you, like it gives you this strength and this confidence about who you are and what you're going to accomplish in your life. And you become this unstoppable force. And it makes people nervous to be around you at times, right? Because nothing I don't like to have lighthearted conversation. Like I like to joke a little bit, but when we're talking about life, it's going to be a real conversation. Like don't come around me skimming the surface. And I tell people all the time, they be like, "Man, you're so deep." I'm like, "Yeah, because I've never found a treasure on top of the sand. I've never found it there." So there's nothing of value, including a person on the surface. So if you can't have deep conversations, and you can't go beyond the surface, or you choose not to go beyond the surface around me, then we're not going to necessarily work out in any capacity, whether it be business, friendships, or you know, relationships. So yeah, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, so I honor the people by being authentically me. That's how I and yeah, because Thomas is gonna be Thomas everywhere Thomas goes. And yes, I did refer myself in the third person. That's how much I really love Thomas. Because I had to see myself from the outside looking in versus the inside looking out. I had to see myself again from the outside looking in instead of from the inside looking out. Because sometimes our perception is not what everybody else sees, not what everyone else sees. And so you have to step into someone else's shoes. I had to look at myself and realize that part of me, I was a piece of shit in some areas of my life. I was, right? But that helped me understand me on this healing journey, right? And now I love what I look at. I do. So, yeah. Uh, what routines or habits helped your healing journey? Oh man. I used to listen to motivational speeches every morning. Um, I need to get back to it. I ain't gonna lie, I fell off a little bit. But I think that getting back to my motivational speeches in the morning, I think that getting back to working out again. But those all those things help me. Reading, I love to read. That's one thing that most people don't know about me, but I really do love to read. Like I am a forever learner, and so getting in that space of learning, um, I think that those are the things that really help me understanding and educating myself, right? So yeah, I think that's and eating healthy, bro. When I was like eating healthy, like the energy that I had changed, right? The love, like the I woke up, I wasn't I wasn't hurting, I didn't have that back. So all of those things, taking care of myself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, how I was spending my money, all of that stuff really brought me to, this person that I am. Y'all go check out the book Let's Get Human, by the way, man. If y'all haven't had the opportunity, it's called Let's Get Human by Thomas Jackson. It's on Amazon. Y'all gotta go cop that, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. It teaches you how to make your own holistic wellness plan. So go check that out if you haven't already. And then what does getting back to it actually mean to me? Um, you know, uh, giving myself time on the carpet, man. Giving myself time to break away from, everybody else. I don't have to be in everybody else's space or face all the time. Like sometimes I just need to step away from society, right? We are in society 24/7. Sometimes I just need to say, hey, guys, I love y'all and there's no love lost, but I need to take time for me and that's okay. Taking time for yourself is absolutely okay and is needed, right? To live a balanced life. You can't live your life for everyone else and expect to be happy. It's not a thing, right? And so when you need to take time for yourself, take that time. Love on you through grieving, right? And even if it's not grieving, even if you just need a moment, like grieve the time that you don't get to spend with yourself. I grieve that too. I know I know people be like, man, I'm like, man, I haven't had a opportunity to just have a moment to myself. We say it all the time, but you're grieving missing you. Don't forget about you in a world that already forgets about you because they have their own dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. It's a real thing, man. It's a real thing. So, yeah, that's what it means to me. Can grief actually make someone stronger? Yes, it absolutely can. It's made me stronger. Um, when I've allowed myself to actually process it, um, I've actually had the opportunity to um, work through so much pain, um, and and it's gotten me to a place of strength, emotional fortitude that has really put me in a place where I feel like I'm winning, in that particular space. Like I'm not losing. Like every time something happens, I'm like, okay, boom, I have a protocol when something happens. I assess the situation. I make a mental plan for grieving. And then I go into my grieving space and I come back out of it. And I go into my grieving space and I come back out of it, and then I'm back to work again. So I typically, if something has passed, 3 or 4 years, I give it an hour of grief, and for whatever moment that it shows up. That's me though. Some people need 2 or 3 hours. Some people need a day. Take a day. Why not? That's what you need. Don't give away what you need for someone else's needs. It's not being selfish. It's actually being selfless because when you give what you need to someone else, you cannot show up for the people you need to properly. Grief is so important for you to do um, for yourself. How do you stop surviving and start living again? Um, I'll tell you this. My mentor told me, and I'll always be forever grateful to Erica Dennehy. She said, Thomas, decide the life that you want to live. And after you make that decision, and you don't have to decide right now, but after you make that decision, every choice that you make has to be toward that life. Otherwise, you'll never be happy. And when she said that to me, I don't know what happened, but there was a spark that hit my brain like nobody's business. And I have been deciding I've just made the next right choice for the life that I've wanted to live. And I tell people that all the time. The next right choice sometimes means leaving friends. The next right choice sometimes means leaving family. The next or people that who are family. The next right choice sometimes mean leaving a particular job. The next right choice means sometimes going without, right? But when you get to the life that you want, all of those things will not matter because you're at peace. So that's what I do every day. I choose me. That's how you start living. When you start choosing you and stop choosing everyone else. What advice would you give someone currently drowning in grief? What currently would I give them advice? I don't really give advice. I would ask them, is this the life that you envision for yourself? And if not, what did you envision your life like? And then they would tell me, and then I would ask them a plan on, do you think that we could create a plan to get you there? Or what would that plan look like if you were to start here where you're at and get to that particular place? It's not my job to advise someone on their own life. I think the person that has the greatest advice is the person that's going through it, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to make the choice to get off the carpet, not me. Um, so, what part of yourself did you rediscover after loss? Um, I don't think I think I rediscovered the child. I say before I was 5 years old, the child that I was when I was 5 years old. I love people. I love laughing. I love joking with everyone. But that's what it is. I discovered, rediscovered the love for humanity. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's see. Uh, how do I give myself permission to be happy again? I just do it. I don't even need anyone's permission to be happy, right? The only person's permission that I need, again, is myself. So I never needed another person's permission to be happy, to give it to myself. I just be me, right? This is what I want for myself. So I want to be in happy environments, and I want to be around people who are happy with not and being happy doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have hard times, right? At all, right? But I just want to be around people who know how to laugh through whatever they've gone through. Like, man, I remember that time I fell off the roof and it hit my kneecap and almost bit the dog or something like that. Right. So, just really being just being, like, man, that was wild, right? And so I want to ask you guys though, you know, as you're watching this, what is something that grief taught you? What is something? I really want to know that, Chad. Like, what is something that grief taught you? And then here, let me type this in the chat real quick for y'all. Is something that grief taught you? Yeah, man. So I just want to, get to it, man. And I really thank y'all, man. I thank y'all. Like I said, I'm always thankful for y'all coming on here, man, and kicking it with your boy on a Sunday night. And I know it's probably Memorial Day weekend. Um, But world peace, man. I had to get back to it. You know what I'm saying? Getting back to it, So, um, but I want to tell y'all some final thoughts, right? And definitely, as we move forward, we're gonna be working on some stuff. But grief may change us, right? But it doesn't have to destroy us. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning how to carry the love, the lessons, and the pain differently. If you're grieving right now, please just know this, that you are not broken, you are truly becoming. So I want to say this in closing. This Sippy Cup Sundays has been and always will be where real conversations create real healing. But until next time, protect your peace, heal out loud, and keep showing up for yourself. Till next time, y'all.